Hi, I'm Bob Weir with another interview of interest to residents of Greenville County. My guest today is Tim Pinkerton, who is running for the Simpsonville City Council in Ward 5. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
If you would please begin by telling our viewers something about your background, such as education, occupation, etc.
Sure. A little background. My wife and I and two children moved here about 28 years ago. And I moved here on a relocation. I was working for Fluor Corporation up until 2020 when I retired. So we decided to make a home here, and we've enjoyed it ever since.
How about area Ward 5 you're running for? What area makes up that ward?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's 6 wards. Ward 5 is generally, well, it's on the 29681 area code side of 385, and it's in the southern part of Simpsonville.
Okay. And there are 6 wards. Okay.
Right.
And just for the edification of the resident, must a resident live in the ward in order to run for the seat?
Right. You can run for city council, but you have to run in the ward that you live in.
However, everyone can vote for you in town, right?
Correct.
In the city, I should say.
It's an open election. Really, the wards are geographically set up, so it basically puts each ward or councilman in a different section of the city.
And in a way, it's good because it makes them feel responsible for that area of the city.
That's right.
And every area is covered, because otherwise it could be all 6 council members could be living in one neighborhood.
That's correct.
And they may not care as much about the rest of the town.
Now, you do represent the entire city, but you are a member of your ward.
Right. All right, so what do you see as the major issues facing Simpsonville going forward?
Well, what I hear, what I know is it's traffic and infrastructure, especially stormwater issues that we have in Simpsonville. The traffic, Simpsonville is a small town, or was built around a small town atmosphere years ago. Either it was a farming community or a middle of town. And although, say, the 385 corridor has expanded, the roads within the city have basically stayed the same. There have been some I would say improvements or some things that caused more congestion. Several years ago, the city decided to slow traffic down going through Simpsonville in order for people to be aware of the town. And actually that's, I would say it's backfired, but it certainly hasn't helped, because the more traffic that we've pushed into the surrounding areas, it's just made a big congestion problem in the city. And they're also getting ready to do a traffic switch that entails a couple of one-way streets, and I truly believe that's going to cause more problem. And of course, the stormwater issues are all over the county, really, but in my neighborhood we have huge stormwater problems, and the real problem there is that however it was designed 20, 30, 40 years ago, based on the expectation of rainfall and runoff, the piping under the roads just isn't sized for all the infrastructure that has been built around us and increased impervious areas. So it's a problem citywide, and I would really like to see us addressing those infrastructure problems as opposed to more expansion.
And as a council member, you'd be able to have an influence on that.
I would certainly hope so. That's my plan.
Yeah, well, traffic congestion is something everybody's concerned about, really.
Right.
You know, nobody wants to be caught up in traffic and waste all that time and gas. How about your activities in the community? Have you been involved much?
Yes, more so since I retired. I mean, obviously it gives you an opportunity to get involved with more. One of the first things I did was become a board member of my community club in Poinsettia, and I'm actually been the president for a couple of years now. So I'm active in the community. Another way I got involved was I became a poll worker. So I worked the polls at Simpsonville 3 Precinct in 2020. So I got a little bit more involved in the local politics. It sometimes gets overlooked. And that's really what I've been involved in there.
Yeah, that's important. Poll work is very important because a lot of people don't get involved. And in fact, it's a shame that so few people vote, especially, you know, in local type elections. The difference here is that everybody's running in November. In other areas, like where we came from, the local people ran in May, and then only the state and national figures ran in November. So I suppose you have a higher percentage of people voting here because it's November.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. So, again, good point on the poll worker. I think they always need poll workers, and if you can volunteer to be a poll worker, you'll learn a lot, and it's good service to the community.
Exactly.
The amount of people that we actually have voting, though, is incredibly small. In the 21 election for councilman, it was only about 20% of people voted. So I'd like to see more.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay, so you want to be on the city council because you want to make some changes, okay, in the city. What exactly is the role of a city council member?
Well, you obviously go to meetings. There's at least 2 a month, and there are business meetings and meetings at large where you hear the public. To me, I want to be a representative of our ward, but not only that, of the city, and be an open door type councilman so that we have good dialogue. We do vote on issues that come up, whether it's changing in ordinances or other activities that may require a vote.
Okay, and where are the meetings held?
Presently at City Hall. They are, of course, building a new City Hall on Curtis Street, so at some point, if I'm elected, and I plan to be, we'll probably move into that building.
Have you ever run for political office before?
No, I don't consider myself a politician at all. I'm really doing this to get engaged with the city and the neighbors to make sure that we're getting proper representation and voicing those concerns.
Well, that's the best reasons for running for office, really. And not being a politician doesn't hurt you.
I feel like the elected officials are the servants.
Exactly, right. What type of campaigning are you doing, Tim? Literature mail-outs or door-to-door canvassing? Or?
Yeah, I got all in on this, actually the first of the year. I decided I was going to run. So I have a website. I'm getting ready to put out some direct mailings by postcard. I've got people doing door hangers for me. I do have a social media page on Facebook. So I'm out there. I update my webpage every other day or so.
What is your website?
It's Tim Pinkerton for City Council Ward5.com.
Okay, so that's good. Well, I'll have that on here as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Thank you.
can click on it. All right, well, we're being grabbed by the clock, so is there anything you'd like to add before we close?
Sure. Again, what I'm interested in is making sure that we have a council that's represented by, one, my background. I have 40 plus years in construction and engineering, and I understand infrastructure, I understand building, and I think it really gives the city an opportunity to have somebody that can do common sense growth.
Well said, and I want to thank you for being here, Tim, and for having the courage to run for office. A lot of people are afraid to do it,
Right.
but we need people who will run for office to make necessary changes in our communities, and so I want to wish you good luck in the election.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching.